Hello everyone, it's Tom the taxi driver, and come with me today because we will be doing a point of view driving tour of this little sliver of the West End. Let's go. The appropriate punishment would be to be hung, drawn and quartered. Look at this, isn't this great? The Batcave. Super early morning in London. Not that super early morning anyway. Right on the border of Camden and Westminster. Not working today, the light is off. That's the restrictions of filming. Lincoln's Inn Fields. The idea is that this is going to show us the relationship of one area to another in London. Discovering it how I used to discover it, back when I was on the knowledge. That's a fascinating place, worth going there. The Sir John Soane's Museum. Completely free entry. Well, it's like a house for Sir John Soane, an architect. He lived there. And you go in there and there's like nothing is explained. It's not laid out like a museum. It's left almost as the way it was when he died. You have to get a guidebook because otherwise it makes no sense whatsoever. Lincoln's Inn Fields toilets. I don't know. I've never really noticed what this sculpture is here. What that actually does. Lincoln's Inn, which is of course where the area now takes its name from. Because it's super early morning, I can just park anywhere because parking restrictions haven't come into play yet. So pretty much a lot of these buildings all around here are all owned by the London School of Economics. Of course, you'll see LSE stamped on everything. It's always disgusting whenever they put a map upside down. Of course, that's south and then that's north. That's really annoying. We're gonna have a look around Sardinia Street, all this sort of stuff here. Hunterian Museum. So this only opened up again in May 2000 this year. I'm completely honest, I've never been in there, but I know it's quite popular. It's very similar, like the Grant Museum Zoology, up ironically on Huntley Street. So I guess that's the link, Hunterian. But this is actually of the anatomist John Hunter. He was a surgeon as well. He had a collection of about 13,000 items, I believe. Back when it wasn't quite the Royal College, and I don't know when it got royal, it must have got a royal charter to be called the Royal College, I guess. Sadly, about 2/3 of the collection did actually get bombed out in the Blitz here, 1941, I believe it was. So there's only about a third of the collection now, 4,000, but yeah, all been recently done up. It's been shut for quite some time, about 5 years or so, I think. Might be more than that, 6 years perhaps. Right, on my map on the way down here, I only realised this has changed. Portsmouth Street. No vehicles. Used to be able to drive down there back in the day. When did it happen? When did that happen? Right, so we have to get out and walk here. Sardinia Street, north that way. We started over there. Another recent renovation, the old Curiosity shop. Immortalised by Charles Dickens. This is said to be one of the oldest, well, I guess, shops. It's not the oldest building in London, obviously, but oldest sort of house, I guess. 1564, if my note serves me correct. And it became the old Curiosity shop in the 19th century, of course, because it was named after a publication by the same name by Charles Dickens. But it's recently had a lot of renovations done, so you can see how sort of new and fresh it looks. It doesn't look quite as good now it's been pedestrianised, because you haven't got that curb. It used to look a lot more kind of shakier, wonky, I guess. There we go, 1567, there's a date there. Now it's just owned by the LSE. They must just have everything on the land here, I guess. Yeah, this one's got a plaque on it. Square the Block, Richard Wilson, 2009. There you go. Art exhibit, it looks kind of unsettling. It looks like it's going to come falling down on your head or something. This is the Kingsway here. It's kind of the closest thing we have to like a boulevard, like a Parisian style boulevard. Quite a wide street. Sadly, it's just nothing. It's not quite in the West End, but it's not quite in the city. And it's amazing how you've got Holborn Station up there, but just everything just kind of just disappears. Like Belgo's disappeared, Soho Coffee's going, so many signs to let, they're ripping stuff out. Shameful really, because it's such a nice wide street. Looking at my notes though, the collection at the Hunterian Museum was actually purchased by the government, I believe, or what it would have been in the 1799, for a grand sum of £15,000. They bought it off of John Hunter. You got the Peacock Theatre. This is a weird little theatre. Again, LSE probably, everything in it, the London School of Economics, nice. Right, if we go around the back of the Royal Courts of Justice, I want to try and find out where the distinction is. But this is right at the kind of changing of City of Westminster into the City of Camden. City of Camden? What are you talking about, Tom?
What is this? The International Year of the Wally Brain or something?
London Borough of Camden. So City of Westminster that side, so that block must be City of Westminster. City of Westminster. And then these are old Holborn. There you go, that's a sign of Holborn, so that's going to be Camden. Right, we ventured out of our little West End tour, but kind of worth noting whilst we're in the area anyway. Carey Street. And this man here, Sir Thomas More. I don't know the relevance of why he's here. If someone could tell me that, I've not really done my research enough to know. Sir Thomas More, sometime Lord High Chancellor of England, martyred July 6, 1535, the faithful servant both of God and the King. You know, I am a servant to the Lord and the King. However, the Lord has precedent. And that's what led to him being, of course, beheaded in the Tower of London. Didn't agree with the idea of King Henry VIII separating from his wife, Catherine of Aragon. The King orders for his trial that, you know, obviously he's crimes against the King, effectively treason, I guess. You know, the trial orders that he is to be sentenced by death. The appropriate punishment would be to be hung, drawn and quartered. King Henry VIII showed leniency and decided to have him beheaded instead. If you call that lenient. So this is basically was my existence on the knowledge of London, circa 2014 to 2017. You get up early morning, you know, I would get in about 4 o'clock, I'd say. I'd probably leave home about 3, so I'd come in at about 4 o'clock. And you would just learn all these points of interest. Now this is more of a historical bias. The sort of stuff I'm covering on this probably wouldn't be covered on the knowledge. And this is stuff I've discovered since getting my badge. Bush House, so that's right up the middle there. Was once home for the BBC. A lot of the BBC was headquartered there. It's now, what, King's College London, LSE. 1930s, I think. Herman Miller, pretty sweet office chairs. If you've got 1,500 quid to blow on a office chair, that would be nice, wouldn't it? Aldwych means like old settlement in Old English, I believe. I swear it is, or it's probably corrupted over the years, but Old Vic, and Vic is kind of, I think it's still in like Germanic languages. Vic still sort of comes as a settlement, as a place. So I think it's where the Danes settled in around the 11th century. We'll come back this way. We'll have a look at that later. Obviously, some of you are going to be shouting out like, "Oh, I know what that building is." St Clement Danes Church, the RAF Church here. So this got heavily hit during the Blitz. You can still see a lot of damage and scarring. It's called the RAF Church because it's like dedicated to the different regiments of the RAF, or different parts of the RAF. But there's some wonderful photos inside of pretty much all of this, I guess, eastern-facing wall, just completely blown out, completely bombed out. So it's amazing the restoration on it. It's a Wren church, of course, built by the Danish community in the 9th century. There we go, so it dates back even older, I guess. So the Danes settled here even earlier. Rebuilt by William the Conqueror, William the Bastard, whatever you want to call him. Built again by Sir Christopher Wren in 1681. Gutted by the German incendiary bombs, 1941. So that probably would have been the same hit that would have taken out the Royal College of Surgeons just over the other side there, all in one foul swoop. Adopted in 1956 by the Royal Air Force. There's your man, Samuel Johnson. He's the man who wrote the dictionary. Well, first kind of came up with the idea with the dictionary, I guess. Lived not too far down there in Gough Square. Plane tree's got some serious lean on it, isn't it? You only notice these things when you go out walking, I guess. Nice. Even a little sundial on the side there as well. Never noticed that. We come into the Strand Australia House. Probably should read some of this because that will probably tell me why Australia House is here. It took me forever to work out why Australian Embassy, South African Embassy, the Canadian Embassy all have such grand embassies in really central London locations. And obviously it's because of the Commonwealth. Air Chief Marshal Lord Dowding, Baron of Bentley Priory. Bentley Priory is fantastic, great museum. Well, out of Middlesex, isn't it? I can't even remember how I got there. It was out near where I used to live. Obviously the services of the Royal Air Force during the Second World War, as it says there, Commander-in-Chief, Fighter Command, Royal Air Force. He lived to a fair old age, actually. Between him and Bomber Harris over there, I think one of them was 87 and one of them was 92. Can't remember, but let's go look at Bomber Harris. Commander-in-Chief of the Bomber Command. And then, of course, you got William Gladstone. Gladstone! I don't know his prominence of why he's here. Famously served as Prime Minister 4 times in his lifetime. There's 4 different, I guess, virtues out the front here. This is, of course, during the reign of Queen Victoria till 1898, so Queen Victoria still would have been on the throne when he passed. You could probably say to me, Tom, are there trees directly outside the Royal Courts of Justice? And I'd be like, nah, never. It's mad when you stop and pay attention to things, what you actually end up seeing. Royal Courts of Justice, architect George Edmund Street. It's of a Gothic revival, or the old Harry Potter look, if you ask me, with all these weird jutting out turrets and walkways. You can imagine key scenes of a Harry Potter film happening. So you might be like, well, look, you've got the Royal Courts of Justice here and you've got the Old Bailey just up the road. What's the difference? Royal Courts of Justice is for everything civil. Civil cases, marriages, disputes. In fact, the most famous, probably divorce case and settlement that took place here was between Paul McCartney and Heather Mills in 2007. He's probably fairly familiar with this court because he would have come here in 1971 against his bandmates, you know, resolving the Beatles. Yeah, sadly, George Edmund Street died before its completion in 1882. Opened by Queen Victoria. Twinings have been there since the 18th century. They are effectively, I guess in terms of a commercial establishment, the oldest ratepayer. Is it the City of London or is it the City of Westminster? I was about to say City of London then, but I think it's the City of London. It doesn't really happen until we go beyond Temple Bar, which is what we're going to go look at now. Temple Bar, or not really Temple Bar, it's a Temple Bar monument. Has marked kind of a boundary of the City of London for quite some time. And that is this monument here, the Temple Bar monument. Early Saturday morning, I can just slap it on this single yellow. How about that? Ah, bosh. And there you go, Temple Bar monument. So around the top, you might be able to just read it here. It says formerly stood here, and I imagine it's going to say Temple Bar, something like that. If we look a little bit closer, you will see a Temple Bar. And this is what the Temple Bar would have looked like in the street here. This original Temple Bar was built by Wren, removed though. So Sir Christopher Wren removed 1878, this memorial exited in 1880. It was removed because it was a bit of a problem with traffic. You imagine these kind of archways, or everything having to funnel through here, would be a little bit problematic in this street. And it actually went to a stately home in Hertfordshire until it was resurrected, reconstructed in its current location now, which is in Paternoster Square. Queen Victoria on this side, the dragon on the top, which symbolises the fact it's a gateway into the City of London. The whole idea of Temple Bar was that the monarch could not just walk into the City of London unannounced. City of Westminster was to do with monarchy. City of London was all about trade and commerce. They couldn't just walk on there quite freely. 1837, that was of course when she was coronated. Her Most Gracious Majesty Queen Victoria and His Royal Highness Albert Edward, Prince of Wales. So he went on to become Edward VII, but then at the time he was the Prince of Wales. So there's Queen Victoria, there's Albert Edward there. Going to St Paul's. This would have been one of the last times they would have gone through the ceremonial archway. Before, of course, it was then removed. You still have a bit of City of Westminster beyond it. So I believe that then becomes the City of London on the south side. But still City of Westminster here, as you can see. Fleet Street Press, we covered that in my my coffee video. We went in there. I got a decaf espresso, which is probably the most pointless drink in the world. We're going to be going past the wonderful Australia House. The only fact I can give you really about it, other than it being a very nice, pretty embassy, that it's the filming location of Gringotts Bank in Harry Potter. So when you see the, what are they, trolls or whatever? They're not trolls, are they? Harry Potter fans are going to go mental now. But them at the counter at the start, as he goes into before he goes into the vaults, that's, yeah, within there in Australia House. Yeah, you've got emu and a kangaroo on the sort of gilding on the front there. Ben, if you're watching, I'm so sorry. You did tell me all about these flags when we did a tour together once, but it's quite hard to grasp what they are. Oh, bloody hell, mate. Well, I wanted to show you Strand Station, but unfortunately, we'll have to come around to that one because, as usual, the bin lorries Rubbish lorries are going pretty absurdly fast. Back over the west hand side of the Aldwych. Wicked. Police constantly on guard there. Outside India House. See a lot of the theatre districts. Proper going for it, isn't he? Jeez. Driving that weapon and then just cuts in front. Right, now we're going to go to somewhere, two of my favourite places to drive as a taxi driver. It's always fun when you get to do these with passengers because you feel like such a pro. So, numero uno, I'm going to go into Savoy Court. Now, Savoy Court is actually a private road, but it's a little bit different in the fact that you drive on the right-hand side. Now, the reason being for it, there's a couple of reasons possibly why. First off is that some people believe that it was a hallmark from World War II when a lot of American officers were stationed here. So you would drive on the right because it was a nice memory of that. The more probably adequate reason is the fact that the theatre is on the right-hand side. So if you came along and you wanted to get your passengers out, you would just very neatly, as a chauffeur, stagecoach driver, open up and out go your passengers to the theatre. Nice. You also need quite a good turning circle to get round here, which thankfully I have in this taxi. Oh, mate. Apparently as well, the reason for driving on the right. This guy confused? What's he doing here? Right, we'll see what he does actually. Do you reckon he'll drive out on the left? The other reason for apparently driving on the right was that so taxi drivers could supposedly drop off at the theatre, then simultaneously pick up at the hotel itself. But I don't think that's true because there's a taxi rank behind there. Has he got it? He's managed it. Wicked. So it is bizarrely strange. I don't know if you can quite see it on the floor, but it actually quite clearly says in, out on the floor. We're going to do a left on Adam Street because this is my second, or probably my first favourite street to drive in London, what we're going to go and do now. Strand means beach because it once beached onto the River Thames. And one of the hallmarks that we still have here of this is if we go underneath the Adelphi. So this is the Adelphi here. Adelphi actually means brothers in Greek, but dates back to the 18th century, not this exactly, but like as a development in this site, the Adelphi area. It was actually built up on vaulted archways because of how close it was to the River Thames. Now these archways are kind of defunct, but here we go. This is Lower Robert Street, or sometimes referred to us cab drivers as the Batcave. Look at this, isn't this great? I have genuinely used this a couple of times when I've had punters on board. And yeah, it's just archways underneath, and this because the Thames would have actually come right up underneath. This technically is a road. I mean, they can shut it, but I mean, as you saw, Lower Robert Street, he wants to load up that van, so I'll let him do that. Yeah, you just come out here. I mean, it is shut at a certain time, but it's actually crucial when you're on the Strand, and if the Strand is like blocked both ways and you want to get out east quite quickly or onto the Thames, you come here down Lower Robert Street. I'm not going to try and butcher some of the history of this, but fellow cab driver and YouTuber Rob's London, he actually made a whole video about Lower Robert Street, how that came to be. You feel like a secret agent doing that. You feel like you're like James Bond or something. And I've had to do it with punters before, and like I had a lady solo in the back, and I did say to her before I did it, I'm like, madam, I'm going to do a bit of a shortcut here, not quite brace yourself. I didn't want her to think I was going down like some dark, dingy alley, like away from civilization, And look, there's the back of the Savoy. Here's the back entrance here, covered over very neatly. Another sort of sneaky entrance. You forget about that entrance to the Savoy, I guess. Well, at least I do. That's why I don't work Saturdays. Plums like that. Let's go along the Victoria Embankment. This is Waterloo Bridge. We're just underneath there now. That was once an exit for the tramway that would come from the Kingsway, which is where we've been. So we've kind of just been all over the Kingsway today, I guess. And we've just got a couple more stops just to finish up, which will be super nice. There is the Temple Green Cabman Shelter. Sadly not open today, but Monday to Friday, 7 o'clock till 2 in the afternoon, you can go there. They actually have a proper coffee machine there, so they can get your proper coffees and wares. Surrey Street, still within the borough of Westminster. These wonderful, this is the National Trust Roman bath, but these wonderful sort of Victorian features on these buildings here. Those awnings that are Strand Station or Aldwych, whatever you want to call it. Piccadilly Railway entrance exit. I've been in here. They actually do some filming in here some time to time. So any kind of disused station shots, they'll generally use this. This closed in 1994. Reason being is because it was just a branch of the Piccadilly line. So up in that direction, up the Kingsway, you've got Holborn Station. It leads on to Holborn, Covent Garden, Leicester Square, possibly. I'm not great with the tubes. But this one came out on a branch line, so it was kind of pointless, really, because all it did was it just brought you down to the Aldwych, down to the Kingsway. Maybe when Bush House BBC was more popular, maybe that's what this kind of serviced, I guess. My favourite story is the fact that Firestarter by the Prodigy was filmed here in the disused lift shafts and the disused platform that never got used. Obviously, it's going to be a Leslie Green station because of the Oxblood tiling. The other thing I love about that story as well, that the Prodigy filming here, was that it was their second attempt at filming a music video. It had to be filmed in black and white because they ran out of budget to film in colour. In terms of the outfit that you see Keith Flint wearing, it's like a Stars and Stripes jumper. He actually picked it up from Camden Market on the drive down for £5. Just little serendipitous stuff like that. You can just imagine just them coming down here to come do that filming. And look, here's one of the other entrances here. So this one's branded as Strand Station. So that's that. Slightly different format of filming today. I really want to just be able to show you some of this historical stuff up close because there's so much that gets missed in my driving videos because I just drive straight past it. If you have enjoyed it and you do like the historical element of it, then I'd highly recommend checking out this collaboration I did with Jack Cheshire. You might know him on Instagram as Living London History. I'll leave that video over here.